started Shit Show Creative as a joke. It started with a Onion style parody article. I wasn't really thinking too much about it. It was just to make a couple people on LinkedIn laugh. I posted this article and then I went for a walk and I came back and the thing had thousands of reactions in a brief moment. Now it has 600,000. These are like living embodiments of the interesting people that I met online by finally throwing myself out there. I was being my professional self, in quotes, for a long time. And then when I started being myself, I found out, even now, I'm amazed with the cool people I'm meeting and what we're able to create. I haven't even talked about Carl the Manatee, but our mascot, Carl the Manatee, the sea cow, he came to me in a dream one day.
That's your moment. If there's ever a moment to inspire you to go and do your own thing and build, man, that would be it for me if that happened to me, for sure. All right, so welcome to a kind of strange and special version of the pod where we're not actually talking to someone live in Cannes, but we're doing something even better. So I'm in Cannes. I'm at the Carlton Hotel on the Croisette, and a few weeks ago, I reached out to a chap called Justin Kramm. Justin runs Shit Show Creative, and we got ideating about just doing an unfiltered observation of what's going on the Croisette, what's going on at Cannes. So I'm going to tell him what's going on in Cannes. Because where are you, Justin, today? Welcome, by the way.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, so this is where I'm based, and it's great to be talking to you today.
Fantastic. Fort Lauderdale. Okay, so you have called in on a very strange time zone. What time is it there?
Yeah, it's 1:30 or 1:40 in the
Oh,
morning, so
oh my God. All right, this is commitment to the cause. And Justin, can you give me, I guess, a little bit of a recap on what you do, what Shit Show Creative is, why you started it, and I guess that leads into why we are here today and why it was such an interesting chat to have.
yeah, Chris. So I started Shit Show Creative as a joke. It started with a parody article on an Onion style parody article. It said, "Embracing the chaos, Shit Show Creative launches," and it was made as Monday morning, I wasn't really thinking too much about it. It was just to make a couple people on LinkedIn laugh, a couple people that I know from LinkedIn who post funny stuff, and I don't know them in real life. That's the funny thing. We just like each other's content. And so I posted this article, and then I went for a walk, and I came back, and the thing had thousands of reactions in a brief moment. Now it has 600,000. And the crazy thing is, this guy from Australia reached out to me soon after I posted it. I mean, he said, "I'm from Perth, Australia. I'm near Venice," which is where the fake agency was. And he said, "I'd love to stop by and talk about how we can collaborate." And at that moment, I thought, oh no, what have I done? Because I'd been saying on LinkedIn that I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but at that time, or sorry, San Francisco. I'd been saying on LinkedIn that I lived in San Francisco for the past 8 years, but meanwhile, I lived in Fort Lauderdale, my hometown, and I had to come clean and tell the world that I was a Florida man. So I wasn't sure about the reaction to this news, but I just kept making fun of myself. And I remember somebody said, "I wouldn't hire you guys," meaning I wouldn't hire Shit Show Creative. I said, "Well, I wouldn't either." And I became connections with a lot of people who were initially critics of this agency. And then half the people knew it was a joke, and they said, "You got to make this real." And they said, "You need merchandise." So I made merchandise. I got hats, I
That's
got
awesome.
t-shirts. They said, "You need a client." So within 2 days, I got myself my first client, which was Xperia House, an ad tech company. And yeah, things started snowballing to me. Said, "Do you have a Substack?" I said, "I don't know what that is." And she said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll start one for you." And so it really became people reaching out to me, offering to help with ideas, even making things for me. Within a week, I had 850
Wow.
people in a WhatsApp group. And I asked everybody to vote, everybody who was part of this movement, to vote on what to call
Yeah.
themselves, and they opted for citizens. So the citizens are committed to comedy, kindness, and creativity with the cause. And the cause is to solve global problems. And the first one we tackled was cleaning the ocean. And we've raised
Wow.
$1.6 million along with a team of people for livingseawall.org.
Wow. That's phenomenal. And isn't humor such a great way of finding your people,
Yeah,
finding the people that like your message and think like you or want like the way you think and want to amplify that? That's such a cool story.
yeah, thanks. I think it is a cool story about how comedy cuts through divisiveness or
Yeah.
partisanship or tribalism and gets people to laugh and enjoy a beer or coffee. And it wasn't too long ago when people who disagree with each other would get together and have be friends, have a bowling club, or I think we can get back to that. And I think for a lot of people who reached out to me are from Gen Z, and I realized they remind me of Gen X, my own generation, in that they embrace absurdist comedy. There's a lot of bumper stickers that they like "Get in, loser, we're going to the library." I even saw a bumper sticker that just said, I hope something great happens to you today." And then just simple messages of positivity. I mean, that make you stop, really. Normally you'd think, what's the big deal? But now it's a really big deal. That thing about wishing good karma for somebody else in the United States now, that really stops you to see a message of positivity and unity on a bumper sticker.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a great thing
Yeah.
to
And
see.
absurdity is a really good vehicle. I always say that um, humor doesn't need to come at anyone in particular's expense. Like you can roast a concept, you can roast, but you don't need to. There's no need to bring anyone specifically down. Do you know what I mean? You can always find humor in observation. You can always find humor in um, different themes.
Yeah, like last year during Cannes, I was roasting the CEOs who were there. And the thing about a roast should be with like admiration and respect, but also some playful banter.
Oh yeah,
You
of
only
course.
roast people that you care about or you respect. And
Yeah.
so last year I was doing that a lot. I would wake up at that's why this is sort of a tribute to last year, but I would wake up at 2, 3 in the morning and I get started writing content and roasts of the CEOs. And it was always directed at them, not the people who had created the work, but the CEOs who were representing their holding companies there. And I think
Mm.
people they understood where I was coming from. And that's also the thing about roast is it helps to be a part of a community. If you're just some outsider coming in, it's a different story. But considering I'm part of this community, I think people understood that I was doing it with love and respect. And then this year, I've just been watching. That's why I was going to ask you how things are going because I've been watching from afar and seeing something. And one thing I was going to ask about is creators because I heard this year that this is a big deal there. But you're there on the scene, so I wanted your take.
Absolutely. I was going to say that actually. As we were going to talk about this, one of the first things that came to my mind, obviously, other than AI, was creators. Was the idea that every big business, every tech business, um, every single talk I've been to has been talking about creativity from the lens of creators. Actually, I could talk about like all of the different things I saw, but I was in this year lucky enough to have a press pass. Got into the Palais, obviously the main building, the Palais, and then so I've never been there. I'm in tech and data, right? We always park up on the beach and uh, have our tech and data talks and talk about targeting people better with AI and stuff. This time I got to go into the Palais and I got lost randomly and wandered into the auditorium and Oprah Winfrey was talking. I didn't even know that she was talking because, tech and data nerd. And so I sat down and I watched Oprah Winfrey talking, and you know, incredibly inspirational speaker, uh, self-made, made this self-made list, number one in the US, and she's an incredible person. But she was talking a lot about not really advertising or anything like that, but just more the concept of creative force and what we're on this planet to do, and that's to find our voice and to find people that hear our voice and see our voice. And it kind of made me think, because I'm doing this podcast, I'm doing a lot more content these days with that, with that in mind as well, which is, who do you want to talk to and what do you want to talk to them about? What do you believe? And I didn't feel it. She was talking about it from a brand perspective. I felt like she was talking to me
Yes.
personally, That was the most resonant creator
Uh-huh.
message I received yesterday. There were tons. Every single brand is doing collaborations and partnerships with creators, and I guess the general message, it felt like, was brands sell stuff, but creators and influencers actually convince you to buy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's this paradigm shift happening there, and I guess more power to the people, right? I like the idea that everyone can have a voice in that way.
Yes, and the thing about Oprah, now that you bring her up, is she has that gift of making you feel like she's talking directly to you, having a real conversation, and
Yeah,
she's been real before it was cool. I mean, the things that she said and exposed in her vulnerability about so many things over time,
yeah,
she's a pioneer. And the other thing I was gonna say is that she she comes from this TV world, but imagine the intimate connection you have with somebody on your phone, that she
yeah,
probably looked at this connection as a new opportunity for people to have to be you're in their pocket. You're carrying them and everywhere they are. It's even more personal. And
yeah.
the creator experience that she's sharing from decades ago where she learned this is so relevant to today.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes with pros and cons. I look at my older relatives in WhatsApp, and I'm also a little bit wary of some random person with a slightly dodgy opinion
Exactly.
talking to me, because I see like older relatives of mine regurgitate that and tell me clearly fake news, or
Oh yeah.
um,
Power comes great responsibility. That's the other thing. Is obviously it can be abused or manipulated. But one positive thing about her too is she created Oprah's book club. She got people reading again.
mm,
People, I remember my mom reading books and she hadn't read in decades. And all of a sudden she's reading a book, and then I would read the book. And there was a time when people of different ages, genders, generations were all reading because she sparked it, and it was great because you had a shared connection with somebody because you're all reading the same thing. I mean, she took
yeah,
something that was from living rooms and then made it the country and the world. And then, of course, they were bestsellers because they had been blessed by Oprah, but also because you could talk to somebody in the airport or you could talk to a family member about something other than divisive politics. And we need that
yeah.
today.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. She was great. So I want to talk to you about, last year you did Cannes and you came here and you obviously did the roast of the CEOs. How are you doing it this year round? Who are you
Yeah.
observing? What are you seeing?
Yeah, well, I've just been watching from afar, taking my time. I was going to, normally get started at the beginning of the week, but this year I decided to watch and observe and then do a wrap up at the end of the week. So
Yeah,
I started something about a month ago called Laughed In, and it's part of my newsletter, the digest by SSC. So I have a Substack newsletter, and every Friday I send out Laughed In. It's a roundup of the funniest things I saw on LinkedIn. So I've been keeping track of some of the best things I've seen related to Cannes. and then I'm gonna send that out on Friday. So rather than
Awesome.
compete with everything happening I can, I'd rather do like a wrap up, and that's what I decided to do this year. I'm looking forward to it. So that's another thing I should say is that I believe LinkedIn has become the most entertaining and most funny network because you're not expecting it. And just as people have always laughed at the water cooler or spent the first 5 to 10 minutes of a meeting making jokes, that's happening now because before you could talk,
Yeah.
I mean, before you talk to each other about business, you might joke around a little bit about business, about things unrelated to business, even about the family or your weekend. And I'm seeing,
Um,
yeah,
it got pretty sycophantic after a while though. Like there's been a period of time where LinkedIn, every time you open it, has been, it went from that to something. Yeah, I didn't really use it for a year or two
yes,
in the last, recently I kind of went off the boil. I can see what you're saying though. It's coming back, and that sort of people are getting a little looser around the collar. But there was about a year or so where I could not open it
oh,
without
geez.
just being like, oh Lord, this is a lot.
Well,
Like there's
there was a
a
time at
lot.
LinkedIn where the algorithm didn't was not sophisticated. So you could say like, please take this off, or I don't like this, and then it would blast all your
Yeah,
followers. It would blast everybody you're connected with about something that you don't like. And then so that was an issue. I was off of it too. In fact, I had just started going back on LinkedIn about a year ago, a little over a year ago when I started Chit Show. And the only reason I stuck around is because there's a couple people on there that were so funny. And but once I threw myself out there, then I found this group called hashtag Weird LinkedIn, and they started inviting me to Friday happy hours. And I was meeting all these interesting people. And there's a woman called Drunk Business Kristen Kinsey, and she has drunk business advice. So I mean, you can imagine there were people pushing me to go. I was looking at their content with admiration, thinking, "Shit show really has to throw ourselves out there a little bit more."
step it up. Yeah, drunk shit show.
Yes, yeah. So, we've talked of exactly. So we've talked about, oh, I have them as guest writers in my newsletter, and then vice versa. I
That's
help
awesome.
promote their newsletters. So I never had a blog or anything like that, but the way I understand it is we can grow together as a community, us people who are part of roasting the professional world on LinkedIn. I mean, Lord knows
Yeah,
with a name like Drunk Business Advice, she is. So.
yeah, absolutely. So who's in your sights this year? Could you give us a sneak peek of what's to come?
Yeah, well, a lot of what I'm seeing is some of the oh, so Adweek is there, WEAK. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're a pioneer in roasting the ad industry. They've been doing it,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll guess, at least 15, 20 years since I remember. I mean, they're most active on LinkedIn now and X, but I remember when they had the website. So I'm looking at them being there and really interested in what they've been sending out. They have some funny memes. I don't know if you've been following their account, but they have um,
uh,
memes of like the founder. He's the man behind the curtain a bit. So the person who represents the founder is doing cannonballs and pulls and things like this in the images that they're posting, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. So I think it's funny because last year I was the roast, and this year I'm looking at other people's roasts and curating it to share.
yeah. I like it. Well,
Mhm.
look, you can curate a few observations of mine as well. I've been obviously, similar to you, a part of the data and tech community in the media industry for quite a while. So got a lot of like love, a lot of love for the industry, a lot of love for all, worked in London, Australia, New York now. But yeah, I've got to say that AI narrative race is hot this year, and there's two elements of it which I guess want to roast slightly, which is the first one is AI for dot dot dot, which tech companies are doing forever, like slide decks and whatnot,
Mhm.
saying, this was 20 years ago as well. We've got 20 million signed in users. We've got the biggest number in the world when it comes to data. And the same thing's happening here again. It's AI for insights, AI for optimization, AI
Hmm.
for media buying. Like you look at the actual meaning of all of that, and you go, I feel like the way advertising is going, I don't want it to all be controlled by an algorithm.
Hmm.
Like the bits that I have seen controlled by an algorithm are already the bits I don't like,
Hmm.
and the bits that are causing social media to be banned for kids, and the narrative seems even more in that direction, which is now algorithms for everything. I'm like sitting there just going, this is going to go well.
Well, one thing I really like about Substack is I don't know what their algorithm is, but it seems almost like pre-algorithm because
Yeah.
it seems unsophisticated in a really good way. In other words, you could see somebody's post from like 2 months ago. I mean, why not, really? We're just trained to think that it's constantly serving us up the most
Fresh. Yeah.
fresh stuff. And I'm being exposed to people who are just from different worlds and different backgrounds, different countries. I mean, I follow a woman on from Georgia, um, who lives in Switzerland, and her name's Georgia. So I follow a lot of people, and it's kind of the spontaneous bumping into people digitally almost, as opposed to the algorithm thinking we belong together. And that's just more interesting. Been exposed to just, but more interesting groups of people. And
Yeah.
this year, I think the hype of the AI industry maybe is so big that it's outshined the hype of the advertising industry. And their hype is
Yeah.
not good hype. Their hype is often we're going to eliminate jobs at scale. And they're doing it to hype their valuations. And I think people are realizing that. And there was a little bit of a downturn yesterday in the market for AI. We're going to see this, there's going to be ups and downs. It's possible that it's the biggest revolution we've seen and also a bubble. Those two things can coexist. I think the long-term trajectory of course, it's going to be really important. But I've noticed with Photoshop's a great example, or Auto-Tune for music, but tools are often overused once they're introduced. They're overused. And then there's backlash and they're underused. And then people who have traditional crafts before the tool use it responsibly, and it took them time to figure out how to use it and trust it too. That happened with Auto-Tune and Photoshop. I mean, when Photoshop first came out, it's just terrible. It was a really bad time for design, but then when things settled out and people were using it
Yeah.
with craft and thoughtfulness and intention, it was a different story. I think that's what happened with AI, but I think it'll happen faster, which is good news. Everything happens with AI faster. So I think it's going to be
Definitely.
overused. There's going to be a backlash, and there's going to be people figuring out how to use it right on an accelerated time frame. It won't take, this took a decade at least with AutoTune, and it's not going to take that long
Absolutely. Yeah.
with AI.
I think the pendulum always swings one way hard and then back to the center with these things. Whenever something shifts and goes to an extreme, my I always see a pendulum going all the way to the other, like past where we want to go, and then all the way, to
Yes.
the end, and then it sort of swings back, whatever force that might be. But do you know what? One thing I had noticed this year that I didn't expect was 99% of the narrative was human creativity is better than AI
Mm,
creativity. And I don't know, I'm not saying I'm more well thought out on this topic, but I am so much more creative personally than I ever used to be.
mhm,
And that's very much in conjunction with my use of AI going up. And I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear a lot of narrative about how all of the good things that humans can now do when AI is in the picture, or all of the things that like it still feels like the cool thing to do is to resist and to put your flag in the sand and go, no, humans beat AI. And it's like, fine, it's an odd one, because what you just said earlier about, like, the leaders are incentivized and pushed to clean up their OpEx, and that usually involves getting rid of humans. But the AI is the antithesis of creativity. So at a creativity festival, I found that interesting that there was less of that narrative about all of the ways in which you can unlock dormant
Yeah.
creativity.
Some of it, I think that some of those people, I've noticed a shocking number of people who truly don't use it or don't know how to use it right. I've also seen the opposite, where people who know how to use it are almost embarrassed to talk about it. And that I wouldn't say everybody, but most people are using this to some degree, even out of curiosity, and they feel like they're going to be shouted down by people who are extremely against it.
Or given more work or judged harsher.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I know somebody who
yeah.
was pushed out of a large tech company because they developed an AI tool because the CEO came into the office, gave it all hands, inspiring people to create tools with AI. So this person did, and it did not go well, and they're ejected from the organization. And it wasn't the CEO; it was more the middle management who was not.
Threatened.
Yeah, so that's the reality. Um,
Wow,
but this is,
that's so tragic.
yeah, it is. Those people, I hope, start their,
Go on to build a business,
yeah, exactly.
like
Because,
that's your moment. If there's ever a moment to inspire you to go and
yeah.
do your own thing and build, man, that would be it for me if that happened to me for
Oh, I
sure.
know. I mean, that's a great origin story. And by the way, that big tech company he started, all these big tech companies, they're usually started by renegades in a garage with a train, and then they become huge, and then the original purpose as it gets big is often lost, and somebody has to take the kind of renegade attitude that created Google in the first place. I mean, Facebook was a garage. Sorry, Facebook was a dorm. Google's a garage.
Yeah,
Apple's a garage. They're all in a garage. A lot of times they're in
yeah,
Silicon Valley, but they could be in New York or anywhere else. Um,
yeah.
and then it's ironic now, right, that they're making people go back to the office because they say innovation needs to happen with spontaneous interactions at a cubicle. We're having spontaneous interaction
Sure.
right here, Chris. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I can talk to anybody from around. I didn't mention this, but my first hire at Shit Show was a was a guy from Ethiopia who speaks German, who has a shared sense of humor with me. My second one was a, a Scottish woman living in Croatia who speaks Spanish because she got married and had a child in the Dominican Republic. So these are like living embodiments of the interesting people that I met online by
Mhm.
finally throwing myself out there. I was being my professional
Yeah,
self in quotes for a long
yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
And then when I started being myself, I found out I have more a, a shared sense of humor with people in Pakistan or Australia and my own friends back in Fort Lauderdale or family members don't get my joke and they will get
I
it.
love it.
And then these people across the globe will understand what
Yeah.
I'm doing. And this is amazing because it's crazy. The internet's been around, what, 30, 40 years at least since I remember. But even now, I'm amazed with the cool people I'm meeting and what we're able to create together.
And Justin, it's humor that brings you together, finds your tribe. How did you feel when the first person that got you was an Australian from Perth?
Oh, this is amazing to me because I haven't even talked about Carl the Manatee, but our mascot, Carl the Manatee, the sea cow, he came to me in a dream one day. And in the dream, I was giving a presentation, a leadership creativity seminar in Perth, Australia, where I've never been, with a manatee named Carl. And then suddenly a pterodactyl comes down and steals a turkey sandwich off the table and flies off into the distance. And so Perth, which I've never been to Australia. It's always been a gold mine to go there. Just kept coming up. And during the pandemic, I would go for a walk around my neighborhood. I'd always see the same lady walking with the "I love Perth" hat. And oh, by the way, so recently I did outreach to funny comedy podcasts, and one of them happened to be in Australia. And the first person that replied to me was from Australia, and they said, "Do you have any Australia stories?" And I was like, "That's funny you should mention that." Because the first, as I mentioned, I think at the beginning of the call, the first person to reach out to me was from Perth, Australia about meeting in
There you go.
person. So I think that, I don't know what it is, but the Australians and the Brits, and they
Ah,
love the humor. Maybe it's self-deprecation and absurdity seems to be. I mean, Monty
it is,
Python.
yeah.
I mean,
Aussie humor just adds bluntness on top of the dryness and sarcasm that Brits have. So I try and switch between the two, of course.
it's great. What a culture. I mean, I always liked all the Australians I meet. By the way, it's World Cup here now in the United States, and everybody's falling in love with Scottish people, and Dutch
Yeah,
people are like taking
yeah,
over Houston, and everybody's just
absolutely.
having fun. It's crazy. It's like the best version of a World's Fair or something like
I
this.
love it. Honestly, it's been even in CANNES bringing everyone together in droves. But Justin, it's 8 a.m. now, and I can hear the hordes and rabbles, the gates in this hotel. So I'm gonna encourage everyone that listens to this to sign up to your Substack and look at your roast that's coming later on Friday. So just share that for
Yeah,
everyone.
I will. Yeah, it's at shitshowcreative.substack.com. You can find me at shitshowcreative.com. Or one of the great ways to get in touch with me is please connect with me, Justin Kramm, like Mickey Mouse, and find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Justin, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I can't believe it's almost 2 a.m. for you. Thank you so much for jumping on with me at this point, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you cook up later this week.
No worries, Chris. Thank you. All the best to you. Have a great
Thank you
time
so
out there.
much, Justin.
Bye bye.